Hey guys, so chapter 1015 of One Piece, it just came out. And this one kind of feels like a dense chapter. Um, a lot of going around, seeing a lot of different people, a lot of different small scenes. No like single like big scene that takes up like half the chapter. It's mostly because we're like getting a bunch of reaction shots to Luffy's defeat, or well, I guess that's kind of last chapter. This time we're kind of getting Luffy's promise that he's not defeated via Momonosuke. But we will get to that as that is sort of toward the end of the chapter. We start off the chapter actually with Luffy still drowning, as he tends to do. And that's just a kind of quick panel at the very start, but we cut quickly back to the fight between Queen and Chopper. Still very one-sided. Queen's kind of dominating, as would be expected, against Chopper. But yeah, and Chopper especially isn't faring well now, having been kind of demoralized by Luffy's supposed defeat. And we also get a lot of shots of random like minks and samurai, who are also kind of starting to get a bit demoralized from it. And we also see Briscola, I think he's called, the gorilla arm smile guy that appeared for like 2 pages back in like the early like 990s, in terms of chapter count. I don't remember which chapter exactly, but he appeared very briefly back then, and he confirms, or just kind of adds to the fact that, yeah, well, he says that he ate one of Tama's Kibidango, basically, and kind of by the fact that we still see him still fighting a samurai, we know that Tama actually has to like make an order directly in order to actually get this thing to activate or to take control of these people. So yeah, so obviously we knew last time we saw her that she was heading to the festival hall, but obviously some kind of a brief run-in with Big Mom there kind of hindered that plan. But in theory, they should be heading there now, or maybe use the Marys, since we saw, again, with Momonosuke at the end of the chapter, that apparently just anybody can pick them up, maybe, and just make an announcement in them. So yeah, that could also be another way. And Usopp noticed them at some point. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's also another possible way that Tama could do that. But in any case, what else do we see? We see Sanji still carrying Zoro, but this time, as many had hoped he would, he is swinging him around like a weapon, knocking what looks like a frog gifter out of the way. Something like that. But yeah, and Zoro is comfortably sleeping as he usually does, amidst being used as a weapon. So that's fun. I just want to see if Sanji can infuse Zoro with or not Conquerors armament hockey, like they would with a weapon. That'd be very interesting. That's so random though. In any case, but yeah, Sanji makes his way over to the festival hall, and he just as Queen's about to go in for a bite on Chopper, and he has like these weird like extendo teeth that come out, and I guess it makes sense because Brachiosaurus is an herbivore, so if you want bite attacks, then you're probably gonna have to have some sort of enhancement there. And as a big cyborg dinosaur here, Queen has obviously managed to do that somehow. But yeah, goes in for a bite, and then Sanji comes out of somewhere, and gets him with a big kick in the face. And in a very One Piece fashion, probably the most bizarre thing I've seen in a while in the series is he like spins. He kicks Queen so hard that he like spins. His whole like neck spins around in one giant circle, and it causes all of the arrows that Perospero fired to be blocked by his head as he's spinning. So, and he also kicks Queen again, sending him flying into Perospero. So he kind of got three birds with one stone, if anything. But yeah, so it looks like, as many probably expected, Queen, being the second strongest subordinate of Kaido, is going to be fighting Sanji, who uh, typically does get the second strongest subordinate. Zoro usually getting the first, and Luffy getting the big bad. So yeah, and obviously we know they have sort of a loose connection through Judge. Queen as a an enthusiast of technology himself. Um, Obviously, we know he has some sort of connection to Judge somehow. Yeah, I don't know if it was explicitly mentioned. Like maybe they're on like the same science team at some point. I forget, but he definitely did name drop Judge earlier when he saw Sanji's bounty poster like way back. So we know he has some sort of connection to Judge, and that makes sense. So it's nice to see that beyond just the usual second strongest thing, there is actually some sort of rhyme and reason to this matchup. But yeah, and he also like the way he knocked back Perospero. I mean, maybe he'll be fighting Perospero on top of Queen. Get a good 2v1 there. And, considering how much shine Zoro has gotten this chapter, and especially since he was delivered to, not this chapter, this arc, but this chapter he was delivered to Chopper, and finally po- possibly, insinuating that he will probably get some medical treatment and get back in the fight, as many people expected. So yeah, between how well he fared against the Yonko earlier, plus the fact that he's definitely not down and out on the count, Zoro has definitely gotten an impressive showing so far in Onigashima. So yeah, it wouldn't be entirely out of the question for Sanji to get a 2v1 against two top tier fighters. I think. I don't think that's terribly unreasonable. But we'll see. Well, actually, I forgot that Nekomamushi is actually coming for Perospero, so if anything, that's probably going to happen. But we'll have to see. We also see Marco, who is we see Marco in like a single panel here, and we also see King in a much later panel later on. We don't actually see them fighting. I assume that they're still fighting. I don't know why they wouldn't be. But a small thing that I didn't pick up on like last chapter was that they mentioned that Luffy, or Bao Huang, when she made the announcement, mentioned that Luffy had the highest bounty of the rebellion, which would mean that in theory Marco's bounty should be lower than 1.5 billion, which is interesting. I kind of expected it to be a bit higher, especially since I personally thought King's bounty would be higher than like 1.5 billion, probably in like the 1.7 billion range. I definitely thought Marco would probably be up there too. But like if Marco does have less than a 1.5 billion bounty, then I can't imagine King would have much higher, especially since we know that notoriety factors into bounties a considerable amount. And I can't imagine the number one commander of Kaido's crew would beat out the number one commander of Whitebeard's crew in bounty, unless he was like significantly stronger to compensate for that. Which I wouldn't be. Which I mean, that could be it. If he does have a bigger bounty, that would make Marco seem kind of like the underdog, because so far we've seen Marco just kind of wipe the floor with King and Queen at the same time. So there's not much tension in his battle right now. So it might be nice to see that maybe he is fighting an uphill battle. But yeah, who knows? In any case, what else happens? Oh, we go back to Kaido and Kinemon, that whole situation going on. So Kinemon does manage to get up right after this that big hit to the head last chapter. Getting back up is a strong word. He takes his sword, the blunt end of it, after it got destroyed by Kaido last chapter. And it looks like he sticks it into Kaido's leg. So like he sticks into something to help himself up, but it looks like he stuck into his leg. I'm not entirely sure, but I think that's yeah. That looks like what happened. That looks to be what happened. And he's starting to like pull himself up. And we get a bit of a flashback to something that occurred. We don't really see the background, but it occurred some point between the time jump from all the scabbards into the future and when they arrived at Punk Hazard, because we see the interaction between Momonosuke and Kinemon, where they decided to like pretend that Momonosuke was Kinemon's son to hide his Kozuki lineage. But yeah, I mean that seems like forever ago, because that was like such a like brief in terms of this whole like gigantic saga spanning from Punk Hazard to now Wano. It seems like forever ago that we thought Kinemon was Momonosuke's father. It seems so strange to think about now, but yeah, just a bit of a callback to that, and kind of just building up the relationship that Momonosuke and Kinemon had just before Kinemon pretty much gets killed. And I shouldn't say killed, but in any other series, given the scale of the attack he tanked last chapter with the full-on Kaido conquers Haki infused Kanabo to the head or whatever, that alone got many people speculating if he just died right then and there. But he did get back up this chapter, but now he got skewered again by Kaido. So I don't know. That would definitely be enough to kill a person, but I don't know. It's only like 3 pages at tops, I think. Yeah, about 3 pages. That's like dedicated to this scene with Kinemon here, and for a character like Kinemon that's been built up since Punk Hazard, I can't imagine that Oda would kill him off in. Like have his, not kill him off because obviously it started last chapter, but have his death scene only last 3 pages in like the middle of a chapter. That can make it doesn't even seem like the main focus of the chapter in that respect. So I feel like he's probably not dead, especially with Oda's track record of killing characters. But I mean, we'll have to see. I wouldn't be like it wouldn't be the end of the world if he died. In fact, I kind of want him to die. I don't want him to die, but like for the sake of like there are a lot of death flags surrounding the scabbards, and it probably would be good for the story if if not all of them died. For that reason alone, I kind of want to see Kinemon meet his end at some point, which might have been right here. We'll have to see. It does look pretty brutal, Oda had to turn it into silhouette instead of just outright showing it. So who knows? We'll see what ends up happening. But we do finally get to find out who Momonosuke heard with the voice of all things last chapter, and it was none other than Luffy. Which I'd heard that theory, people saying that maybe he heard Luffy calling out to him, and I personally wasn't a fan of it. I was like, it doesn't really make sense. Usually it's like huge I mean, historically, with the Sea Kings and Zunisha being the only examples I can think of at the top of my head, where the voice of all things was used, like, I'm like, it's got to be some like giant mythical creature in order to use the voice of all things, not Luffy. But no, they use the voice of all things to communicate, and Momonosuke takes one of the Marys and makes an announcement that Luffy is alive and will definitely return to defeat Kaido. Kind of returning the morale to all of the troops, and we do see like pretty much everybody, most of the Straw Hats, the Kid, Law later, and whatnot. We also see Frankie. Not General Frankie, but actual Frankie, We could easily be getting a shot from inside the mech, but I wonder if this like he got out of General Frankie. I can't imagine he would because he's already struggling against Sasuke as it is. I don't think getting out of General Frankie would improve his chances at all. But maybe he did. Who knows? Yeah, but in any case, he kind of uses that to return the morale to the the raid. But what's interesting about this use of voice of all things is that, well, Luffy does get saved. The Polar Tang, Law's submarine, finds him in the water, which was my personal favorite theory for who would save him, just because it made the most sense. But what's interesting here is that the crew of the Polar Tang mentioned that they heard his voice. And I doubt Law's entire crew has the voice of all things. So it would imply that the voice of all things might go two ways, in that not only can you hear the voice of otherwise, unhearable things, for lack of a better word, you can also project your voice outward and reach other people. Maybe somehow that's how that works. I think this is the first time we've seen the voice of all things used in this way. And maybe this isn't even the voice of all things. Maybe this is something completely different, but I assume it's the voice of all things. But yeah, the Polar Tang does arrive to save Luffy. So yeah, he's not dead at the very least. So we can rest easy in that respect. But he still has to get up to Onigashima somehow. So it's interesting to see how he will do that. In any case, we also cut to Usopp, Nami, and Tama, and the only really thing of note in this little scene is that Nami pulls out her Climatect, and it has a face. It is now a homie. And I think the implication here is that it's Zeus. The face looks a lot like Zeus. It has sort of the droopy eyes. So I guess the whatever was left of Zeus's soul may have inhabited Nami's Climatect. I assume that's what happened there. So I'm interested to see if this is just like, oh, you have a conscious weapon now, or if like it still comes with like the power upgrade that Zeus provided. Because she mentioned that we've seen that Zeus upgraded her lightning attacks. But now Zeus isn't the cloud anymore, but the staff itself. But Zeus is still made out of Big Mom's soul, so in theory, it should still be a big power upgrade, even if he's not like in the lightning cloud form anymore. And if anything, that means that Nami should have a power upgrade and stuff other than just lightning attacks. But yeah, we'll see how that. It's literally like 2 panels, so not much to say on that. And also, Law arrives in the fight with Kid against Big Mom. So it looks like that might be unless I'm kind of a big fan of the theory that eventually all of the supernova on Onigashima will team up to fight Kaido or both of the emperors at once. We kind of, we had 5 of them on the roof. We were so close. But then, now they've now dispersed. So I don't know if we're going to be getting that. I personally would still like to see that, but who knows at this point. But at the very least, it looks like the matchups may be Luffy 1v1 and Kaido, and then Law and Kid taking on Big Mom, which I think that's pretty fair. I mean, if Luffy does end up being strong enough to 1v1 Kaido, I don't see why Law and Kid probably could 2v1 Big Mom, right? But Kid, the only way I see that happening actually is if Kid figures out Color of Conquerors, the advanced form too. But the thing is, he has the extra hurdle of actually figuring out how advanced Armin Haki works first, because I don't think he has that at the moment. And the implication we got from when Luffy awakened his advanced Conquerors Haki is that like it's kind of pretty much the same skill as Riro or Advanced Armament Hockey, just applied to Conqueror's Hockey. So, the only reason he was able to learn it that fast is because he already had that comparable knowledge or whatnot. So yeah, we'll have to see how that ends up happening. Maybe that won't even end up being the final matchup. But yeah, for the last scene of the chapter, we see Kaido closing it. Oh, I actually skipped something earlier. Shinobu has Momonosuke, and she's kind of like backed up to the edge of the island of Onigashima, with Kaido like cornering her. And then she uses her mature fruit to just like rot the ground. So like a huge chunk of Onigashima falls off. And I think the implication is that they're falling with it. So I guess maybe Luffy, Momonosuke, and Shinobu will all be on the ground trying to get back up now. We really don't see them falling at all, other than that just like one panel of the chunk breaking off. But I'm pretty sure that's the implication, is that they're now falling as well. I don't know. But yeah, with that, with them now gone, Kaido turns around and Yamato is on top of Onigashima, looking down at him. So it looks like the Yamato versus Kaido fight is going to happen. We'll have to see how that goes. Obviously, I don't think Yamato's anywhere near strong enough to take Kaido on his own. I feel like Yamato, he must be at least strong enough to hold him off for a bit, But yeah, I feel like Yamato, in terms of strength, he must be at least like around a Yonko commander, right? Maybe slightly lower, maybe, like top of Tobiropo, like maybe where Jinbei is. Who knows? Power scaling is kind of up in the air. I probably really shouldn't even get into it. But yeah, but with that being said, I don't really have anything else to say on this chapter. So I guess I will see ya.